Now for our roundtable with Anna Mancuso, noted Republican political strategist and longtime regular now on News Channel 5, even longer time regular, Brian Crowley. Both stars also of the High Tops and Politics podcast. I encourage you to give it a listen and soon a look as well. Two topics I want to touch on. Governor DeSantis goes to Israel, makes deals with Space USA here and Israel and trying to create some synergy there. What are the upside downsides of his trip as you look at them?
Well, if you were one of the many powerful lobbyists who got to go on this trip, it was a great upside for them and their clients. You had all this time that you were going to be alone with the governor, members of the cabinet, some other members of the legislature. So you get to spend a lot of time on a plane flying to a foreign country 6,000 miles away where you can lobby for your clients.
Any real upside for Florida taxpayers?
No.
Mariana?
Well, that was kind of an abrupt response. No, I think that,
to the point. It's the name of the broadcast.
I'm glad you're keeping this succinct, Brian. Excellent. No, I think that the trip to Israel, as we spoke about last week, it was very problematic because having these ceremonial cabinet meetings was problematic for people that could not be in attendance from Florida, and it did look a little too opportunistic, and I'm still waiting for my postcard from Israel.
He argues we created better economic ties with some of the businesses there. His supporters will argue that. What do you say to them and say, wait a minute, give them a break? What would your argument be to them?
Well, the first thing I'd say, there are lots of governors who've gone on these economic trips. Not one of them has come back and said, oh my God, it was a total failure. You know, usually the deals are made long before they went, and I mean, I don't care about all of that, but you know, the fact that you're bringing a ton of lobbyists with you, that you're having a questionably legal cabinet meeting, those kinds of things are troublesome. Economics, no, not so much.
Let's talk about the Mueller statement last week. Robert Mueller, after 2 years, concludes with a brief 10-minute statement, speaking publicly for the first time about the Russian election interference probe. You heard us talking to Congressman Mast. Do you think it changes the narrative on this? What is your thoughts on what happens on the Hill? And as we start moving into real attention being paid to 2020, how it changes, if it does, the arc of the debate?
Well, he came in and basically admonished everybody in Congress for not reading the report in its entirety. And he basically said what everybody says. It was in the email that I sent that you didn't read.
But in terms
and I think in terms of 2020, I think that the Democrats have to make a decision. They're either going to move forward with impeachment or they're not. They can't keep dragging their feet on this. And unfortunately, I see them dragging their feet well into summer recess and then coming back and still beating the same drum. You have to make a decision. You either go forward with an impeachment process or you don't. I mean, that's really all they can do at this moment. Because otherwise, it's horrible. And
talk about the upsides, downsides of that monumental choice.
Well,
for both parties.
think that you know, they need to make a decision. This dragging it out is, they already have all the information they're going to get from Bob Mueller. Bob Mueller, I think, should testify before Congress. I don't think he has some privilege where he shouldn't testify before Congress. But I think they need to move this along. To continue to drag this out, either you've got something there and you're ready to start impeachment proceedings, or you don't, and then move on to other issues that Americans care more about.
The president argues, wait, there was no collusion, and to use the I word to talk impeachment's absolutely out of bounds, and that will end up being the sum and substance if they move forward with this debate. Are you piling on? Is this fair? Is it legitimate? It'll suck all the political oxygen out of the room for a long time.
You know, I think Bob Mueller made a mistake when he said that if he could have, he would have exonerated the president on interference charges and obstruction charges. And I think that was a mistake for him to say that. I don't think he had any business saying that, but you create this opening because it says this thing isn't really settled. And so, you know, the Congress has to decide whether or not they want to move forward with this. And I think Mueller cracked that door open. Whether it's worth going through that door, I'm not convinced yet.
Final thought, Mariana.
You know, I would have to agree, and as we've said, the Democrats need to make a decision, and I think that it is ridiculous. Some people are speculating that the reason that they haven't is because they know that he will not be impeached in the Senate. However, if I remember correctly, looking back at Bill Clinton's presidency, he was impeached in the House. It did not pass in the Senate, and yet it didn't impede the House from going forward with those impeachment proceedings.
It's going to be a long, hot summer. Interesting indeed. We thank you. We'll have final thoughts from our podcast stars in just a minute.